There was a man who sat in silence every morning for 27 days. Same time, same place. No phone, no motivational playlist, no vision boards. He just stared into space and smiled. His friends thought he'd lost his edge. His mentors worried he was falling behind. But on the 28th day, without reaching out, without trying, without launching anything, 3 opportunities he'd dreamed of for years landed in his inbox. Random, unexplainable. Almost too easy, but was it really random? See, what no one noticed was that during those 27 days, this man wasn't doing nothing. He was dismantling the very frequency that had blocked his flow for years. He was detaching from the doer identity, the one that believes action equals worth, that more effort equals faster results. He wasn't performing for the universe anymore. He was finally listening. Because here's the truth, no one dares to say, the quantum field doesn't respond to what you're doing. It responds to something far subtler and far more powerful. And most people miss it completely. That's why they burn out. That's why they repeat the same cycles. That's why they follow all the right steps, but still feel disconnected, unfulfilled, unnoticed by the universe. They're fluent in the language of action, but the field speaks only frequency. And here's the twist. It's not just any frequency. It's the signal of who you are when no one's watching, when you're not trying to manifest, when you're not scripting, when you're not looking for signs. That's when the universe actually listens. In quantum physics, this isn't woo-woo, this is coherence. Your body is a transmitter. Your thoughts are electric. Your heart is magnetic. Together they form a signature, a vibrational ID that constantly broadcasts to the field. Not your wishes, not your words, your state. So here's the unsettling part. You might be doing everything right while unconsciously broadcasting. It's not working. You might be scripting your dream life with precision while radiating desperation. You might be visualizing luxury while your nervous system is still stuck in survival mode. And that's the invisible mismatch that keeps timelines from collapsing. This isn't about blame. It's about precise awareness. Because once you understand what the field actually hears, you stop wasting energy trying to convince it with effort. You start speaking the only language it understands, embodiment. This man who sat in silence, he wasn't lazy, he was recalibrating. He was remembering what most of us forget in the noise of trying to force life into place. You're not here to earn alignment. You're here to return to it. And that return can't be faked. It can only be felt. The irony, most people are manifesting in a language the field doesn't understand. They're using words, strategies, hustle, rituals, but the field isn't logical, it's vibrational. It doesn't decode what you do, it decodes the energy you're doing it from. So let me ask you, if you stopped all external effort today, would your energy still be magnetic enough to pull your future toward you? This is the invisible truth we'll explore in this video. Because it's not about doing nothing, it's about becoming someone who no longer vibrates from lack, who no longer performs for manifestation, who no longer begs the field to deliver, but becomes the version of self the field can't ignore. By the end of this journey, you won't wonder why certain things aren't appearing. You'll know exactly what signal you've been sending and how to shift it from static to symphony. But to do that, we must go deeper. Next, we'll uncover why even well-intentioned spiritual people fail to collapse timelines. You'll discover the quantum disconnect between your intentions and your field, and how to realign effortlessly, yet with emotional clarity, because the field is already listening, just not to what you assumed. And once you hear what it hears, everything shifts. You've likely felt it before. That odd moment when everything outside seems perfect. You're doing all the right things. You're focused, disciplined, even hopeful. But inside, something feels off. There's an undercurrent of tension, a quiet defiance, as if your body isn't buying it. That's when the quantum field truly listens. Not to your words, not to your plans, to what you emitted. Unconsciously, instinctively, energetically. This is where things click or crumble. Most assume the universe acts like a parent, rewarding effort, obedience, hard work. But the quantum field isn't parental. It's not moral. It's mechanical. It measures coherence. It mirrors resonance. It responds to the signal, not the strategy. And that signal is always now. In neuroscience and quantum biology, this is called state-dependent encoding. Your body stores memories and expectations based on how you've emotionally cycled certain frequencies. So even if you visualize abundance, if you're emotionally stuck in scarcity, the field echoes scarcity back. Not to punish you, to match you. Let's break it down. Imagine walking into a room with a tuning fork humming at 432 Hz. If another fork is tuned the same, even across the room, it'll start humming too. No contact, no push, just resonance. That's how manifestation works. The field doesn't grant wishes, it responds to coherence. When your intention, emotion, and embodiment align, you become a broadcast tower, and everything matching that frequency starts moving toward you. Not because you're asking, but because you're vibrating. But here's the paradox. The moment you try to be in a high frequency, you've already lost it. Because trying is resistance, wanting is absence, performing is insecurity, and the field detects that instantly. This is why so many people plateau. They push so hard to manifest from the mind, but their body still carries frequencies of fear, separation, and lack. Their words say one thing, but their field, that invisible electromagnetic aura around them, tells a completely different story. Let's make this real. You write in your journal every morning, "I am abundant, I am aligned," but inside your chest feels tight. You're watching the clock. You're waiting for proof that it's working. That tension, that's your real signal. That's what the field hears. Because while your conscious mind speaks in words, your subconscious, which drives 95% of your signal, speaks only in emotion. And emotion is magnetic. Joe Dispenza often says, elevated emotion paired with clear intention is the formula for creation. But most people focus only on the intention. They skip the emotional rehearsal. They declare desires while vibrating the opposite emotionally. That's like dialing the right number, but speaking into the wrong phone. Now here's where it gets quantum. The field doesn't understand future tense. There's no "I will" in the language of energy. The field reflects your now state. So if you're always becoming, you never arrive. If you're always reaching, you're broadcasting. It's not here yet. And so it stays away, perfectly obeying your signal. But there's more. Many people unconsciously use manifestation as a performance for security. They don't believe they're worthy unless they achieve. So they chase results just to feel okay, not realizing that very chase radiates lack. That's the trap. The quantum field doesn't respond to your effort. It responds to your energetic posture. And if your posture is built on trying, grasping, or earning, you push it further away. So what's the answer? Shift from performer to broadcaster. Stop proving. Start transmitting. Stop pretending. Start embodying. Because the most powerful manifestors aren't the ones who know the most techniques, but the ones who need the fewest. Why? because their frequency speaks louder than their actions. Their coherence collapses timelines, and the universe can't help but respond. In the next part, we'll explore identity's role in all of this. You'll see how your self-concept, the emotional blueprint you carry, is the code the field responds to most. And we'll start dissolving the identity that keeps broadcasting struggle, even when your intentions are pure. Because once you change the signal, the field has no choice but to reflect it. There's a question most people never pause to ask. Who are you before you begin manifesting? Not what you want, not what you're visualizing, but who you've unconsciously decided you are. That identity, subtle, often unseen, is the source code the quantum field reacts to. Not your dreams, not your affirmations, but the energetic assumption of self you bring into every room, every ritual, every breath. This is where manifestation becomes less about magic and more about energetic alignment. Because your frequency isn't built in your vision board sessions. It's built in your nervous system, in the stories you tell yourself, in the emotional patterns you replay, in the way you expect life to meet you, even before it does. That's what we call your vibrational identity, and it's more powerful than any technique. Let me show you how this works. You can wake up at 5 a.m., light candles, meditate for 45 minutes, and repeat I am abundant 108 times. But if your body still carries the identity of someone who was rejected, who had to fight for love, who never felt safe being seen, your signal will be coded with lack, not alignment. You'll be acting from the place of someone still trying to become, not someone who already is. This is the hidden saboteur of manifestation, an identity wired for struggle, trying to speak the language of flow, and the field which only responds to vibration can't reconcile that mismatch. It reflects your being, not your effort. So what shapes this identity? From a quantum perspective, identity isn't just psychological, it's vibrational. Every thought you have, especially when paired with intense or repeated emotion, hardwires a neurochemical loop. Over time, that loop becomes familiar, and your brain, always efficient, defaults to what it knows. This creates what Dispenza calls the familiar past, a state where your future is just your past, replaying unconsciously. But identity isn't just in the mind, it's in the body. It's physical. It lives in your breath, your posture, the subtle tensions that arise when someone says your name. Your body remembers who you've been. And if you don't disrupt that loop, you'll manifest not what you desire, but what you're accustomed to being. This is why high vibration practices sometimes fail, not because they're ineffective, but because they're performed from an old identity. It's like trying to run new software on a device with outdated firmware. The signal stutters, the system rejects the command. So how do we shift this? First, you must notice when you revert to the old self, the one who hesitates, who pushes, who looks for signs instead of embodying certainty. Most people don't notice this shift happening. It's subtle, a sigh, a withdrawal, a pause. These micro-expressions are signals, hints that you've slipped back into an identity the field can no longer sustain. Because here's the paradox. Your new timeline can't anchor to your old self, and the quantum field senses that. That's why it resists delivering new outcomes to those still holding on to expired identities. It's not punishment, it's protection. The field maintains coherence. So what's the answer? You don't shift identity by forcing new beliefs. You become someone new by living from a new frequency, consistently, until it's no longer an effort. This isn't pretending. This is vibrational practice. You act as if, until it simply is. Start small. Sit quietly. Not to manifest, but to witness. Feel the version of you who no longer chases. Breathe as they would. Move as they would. Ask, what would I stop doing if I truly believed I already was who I claimed to be? Then do less of that. Your new identity isn't a disguise. It's not a mood. It's not a vision board. It's a frequency. And when your thoughts, emotions, and actions match that frequency, you stop needing validation. You become the proof. You stop looking for the sign. You are the sign. Next, we'll share a simple yet powerful practice to rewire this identity, gently and effectively. A daily ritual that doesn't demand hours, tools, or performance, just presence. You'll learn how to emit a signal from your core, because the quantum field doesn't need persuasion. It needs you to become so aligned that it has no choice but to mirror what you already are. And once that shift occurs, everything begins to arrange itself around you, naturally, effortlessly, instantly. There's a moment, quiet and almost unnoticed, when the change begins. You're no longer doing the ritual to receive something. You're not repeating affirmations to convince yourself. You're just being, not acting as if, simply allowing yourself to embody what's already here. That's the sweet spot, where the quantum field responds before you even know you've shifted. And it doesn't take hours. It doesn't need a script. It starts with one clear signal, honest, emotionally aligned. We call it the coherence pulse, a 90-second practice that tunes your identity to match your chosen timeline. Here's how it works. You wake up before you grab your phone, before you scroll, before you drown in yesterday's messages or news. You sit, eyes open or closed, doesn't matter. What matters is this. You send before you take in. Take a deep breath in. On the exhale, imagine your chest filling not just with air but with a signal. You're not just breathing, you're broadcasting. Now pick 3 words, not affirmations but vibrations you want to live from. Not things to get, but ways to be. For example, certain, open, magnetic, or peaceful, worthy, whole. Say them softly, feel them, let your body echo them. Then, imagine those vibrations rippling outward like a wave. Not begging, not wishing, knowing. You're not asking, you're not persuading, you're just declaring. This is who I am today. This is my signal. This is the me the world will meet. And here's the shift. Most people do a ritual, then slip back into old patterns. They align, then shrink again. But with this pulse, you lock in a new identity before the world defines you. You set the tone. You send the code. What comes next is quiet but real. Your stance shifts. Your breath steadies. Your choices sharpen. You refuse without regret. You agree without doubt. Because you're no longer reacting to the old field, the one shaped by past vibrations. Now you move through a field you build, moment by moment. And you didn't chase it. You became the signal it had to answer to. That's the true power. So here's your challenge. Do this for 7 days. Every morning, before outside energy reaches you, let this be your transmission. And to make it stick, right now, right here, mark this moment. Tell your future self, the signal is new. Reply below, I am the signal. Not because you're trying to manifest faster, but because you finally get it. The field never needed your effort. It needed your alignment. In the next part, we'll explore what happens when you start living from that alignment all day. We'll show you how to stay in sync in real-world moments, conversations, choices, doubts, and distractions. Not by resisting them, but by becoming untouchable to their frequency. Because when you stop chasing, timelines start collapsing. So you've sent the signal, you've pulsed the field with alignment. And for a moment, maybe 5 minutes, maybe an hour, everything feels lighter, clearer, in flow. But then something shifts. A message sparks doubt. A delay stirs anxiety. An old pattern pulls you back into the self you've already decided to leave behind. This is the real test, not of willpower, but of energetic steadiness. Because the quantum field isn't testing you to punish you. It reflects you to show where the signal falters. And this is where most people slip back into their old timeline. Not because they failed, but because they didn't anchor their frequency deeply enough to withstand resistance. But what if staying steady didn't take force? What if alignment was less about discipline and more about remembering? Because the truth is, you don't need to fight old patterns. You just need to stay consistent in the signal of the new self. Let's talk about how. Your frequency is held by small, quiet agreements you make with yourself all day. Tiny choices, subtle reactions, emotional tones. Most people think manifestation is about big shifts, quantum leaps, awakenings, breakthroughs. But in reality, timelines change when your smallest actions stop clashing with your new identity. For example, you get a message that would usually make you tense. The old you would spiral, worry, or rush to fix it. But instead, you pause, you breathe, you smile. You remember, I am the signal. That pause isn't passive, it's quantum adjustment. It tells the field, I no longer react from my past. I now respond from my truth. Another moment, you feel the pull to hurry, control, chase, but you stop the cycle. You ask, would the me who's already received this feel rushed? And if the answer is no, you live that no. You ease off. You trust the rhythm. You transmit instead of grasp. These moments add up. They build a new energy, and energy is power. Because energy tells the field, I am safe enough to allow, I am sure enough to not convince. I am already what I've been becoming. And that's when timelines speed up. Now, let's go deeper. To stay aligned all day, your environment must reflect your frequency, not challenge it. That doesn't mean isolating yourself or avoiding contrast. It means choosing the spaces, people, and inputs that reinforce your chosen state. Ask yourself, what music aligns with the version of me I'm embodying? What scent, what texture, what light reminds me I'm safe in the present? Who are the 3 people in my life who speak to the future me, not the past one, even subtler? What thoughts will I no longer entertain? Not because they're bad, but because they no longer belong to this frequency. This is energetic hygiene. It's frequency stewardship. It's not obsessive. It's intentional. And if you ever feel yourself slipping, you return to the breath, not to calm down, but to transmit. You say your 3 words. You pulse again. You become the transmitter. Again. Because here's the truth. You're not trying to stay in a high vibration. You're practicing being unreceptive to anything else. And over time, it's no longer practice. It's your default. You become emotionally untouchable by chaos. Not numb, but grounded. Not robotic, but sovereign. And the field begins shifting. It organizes. It aligns. It delivers. Not because you pushed harder, but because you held steady when you used to react. You stayed open when you used to resist. You stayed certain when you used to doubt. That's what shifts timelines. In the final part, we'll bring this full circle. You'll see how surrender isn't weakness. It's the final stage of transmission. You'll learn the paradox of effortless manifestation and why once you stop needing the outcome, it starts needing you. And now, we arrive at the final truth. The moment when all the techniques, rituals, and alignments fade into something quieter, simpler, more powerful than anything you could have forced or performed. Because manifestation, at the quantum level, doesn't happen when you perfect the method. It happens when you release attachment to the result. When your frequency becomes so complete, so magnetic, so deeply aligned, that the field has no choice but to mirror you, not as a reward, but as a reflection. This is where surrender begins, and not the kind people misunderstand, where you give up, lower your standards, or let go out of exhaustion. No, real surrender is a vibrational choice. It's when your being is so in harmony with your intention that you no longer track the timeline. You no longer search the field for proof. You no longer plead with the universe to confirm it's listening, because you're no longer separate from what you've asked for. Surrender here isn't giving up, it's giving in to the now. It's leaning into trust, while still moving with precision. It's soft eyes with a sharp focus. It's calm action, without tension. And here's the irony. It's when you no longer need the thing that the thing starts finding you. Why? Because the field responds to freedom. Not freedom from effort, but freedom from attachment. When you're no longer tangled in the when, how, or why not yet, your frequency becomes clear, powerful, inevitable. This is what Neville Goddard called living in the wish fulfilled. Not waiting, not hoping, not chasing, but being, now, the version of you who no longer asks for it. Because you already are it. And in that moment, time folds. Synchronicities line up. Doors swing open. Calls arrive. People reach out. Ideas flow. And none of it feels like you're doing, because it wasn't. You became. And that's the difference between striving and strength, between pushing and flow, between forcing and radiating. So as you leave this, don't add more effort. Subtract the noise. Just exhale. Trust that what's yours doesn't need convincing. It only needs clarity. Let today be the day you stop spending energy to arrive and start spending it to become. The you who no longer performs for the field, but speaks its language effortlessly. And when that happens, all you've imagined begins to circle you. Not because you chased it, but because you finally matched its truth. You were it all along. And now, if something stirred today, if it clicked, resonated, or reminded you of your core, you're already shifting, and you're not alone. This isn't just a video, it's a frequency, a place where science meets spirit, and the signal grows stronger together. So if this resonates, subscribe now, not for more content, but because this is a movement, and you belong here.